Two coaches were at the centre of major events throughout round 20. The Demons, with their statement on Friday night, was led by Jack Viney too. Over in the West, their credentials absolutely reaffirmed. While Brisbane went to the MCG and put 42 points on Richmond early and looked away, only to be swallowed up by the Tigers late and lose a place in the top four as a result. So Chris Fagan and Simon Goodwin are with us on Coaches Night. Chris, great to have you with us.
Thanks, Jared. Mark.
Simon, nice to have you at the desk.
Jared, Robbo, good to be here.
All right, so the post-mortem, Chris, how do you approach the day after? What have you been through?
Yeah, so we won't meet with the players until tomorrow morning, but obviously had a look at the tape. It was with mixed emotions that I watched it, because I thought in the first half we played our best football for the season easily. It was really outstanding brand that we played, both offensively and defensively, and then the Tigers were able to work their way back into the game in the second half, and we end up losing by not much, but pretty disappointing result in the end after a really positive start, but something I think we can build on.
When you lose momentum and lose control of the game, Fags, which happened yesterday, is it the job for the coach and the coaching staff to arrest that momentum, or is it a job for the leaders on the ground to take care of their business? Because the question is, has the Lions got enough leaders on the ground to say, right, this is what we have to do?
It's a combination of both, Robbo. You know, you want your leaders to stand up in those moments and understand what needs to be done, and we certainly do a lot of work with our leaders around that. And then from the coach's box, we might try to do some things tactically that might help that process. So, I mean, our leaders have been good at that in the past in a number of games. Yesterday we came up a little bit short, but confident that we've got the players who can make those calls out on the field and get it right.
Do you listen to the outside noise? And I asked that question, Fags, because the post-mortem from all analysts, or most analysts, Brisbane can't win it. They just cannot win the flag anymore, even though you pushed Richmond really, really hard in a half. What do you say to that? Does that worry you? Does it frustrate you? Do you address that with the players' confidences?
No, I understand that people want to comment on the game and that they've got to have strong opinions, because that's why people want to watch and listen to media. So fully understand that, but we can't get caught up in that. I mean, this time last year, I think we had to win our last 3 games to finish in the top 4, and even that wasn't guaranteed. I think that happened in the last 2 minutes of the game. So you know, you just take each week as it comes. It's a really tough and tight competition, and if we can get back to our really best form, which we showed a strong glimpse of yesterday in the first half, then there's no reason why we can't be really competitive come September. You know, we're not a perfect team. We've got strengths and weaknesses like every other team, but when we play at our best, we're pretty hard to beat, as people saw in the first half yesterday.
The boldest voices, Simon, were prepared to almost put the pen through Melbourne's premiership credentials. Are you taking any of that in?
Oh, not at all. No, very similar to Chris. You know, I think, you know, you get judged on over a period of time, but also there's a reaction externally from a week-to-week perspective. And, you know, our turn was in the last few weeks, but internally we know we're tracking in the right direction. You know, since the bye, we've won 4 out of the last 6. And we think we've been able to adjust and make some changes in our game that we'll think will stand up at the end. So, yeah, I think there's a reaction from a weekly perspective, but we generally look at it from a bit bigger picture than just that.
So when did you know? So you leave Melbourne, everyone's going, oh, Melbourne, 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 and we're looking at them. You're not in the groove that you want to be. Did you know? When did you realise that, yes, your team had found the Melbourne groove? If Damien Hardwick says the Richmond way, the Melbourne groove. When did you know you could see it or feel it in the game?
I think we played a game up against Port Adelaide a few weeks ago in Alice Springs, and there were some really good signs in that game that we're starting to get back to some of the form that we know we can play. The Bulldogs game was very disappointing, but in the first 5 minutes on the weekend, the first 10 minutes, you could see there was a real intensity and urgency about the way we defend.
In what? In the contest or what?
Contest and the way we defend it. You know, our game is underpinned by that. You know, and we've built that over a period of time, and you could see that intensity and urgency in our players, and you know, through their training and the lead up to the game, and obviously came out and produced it really early in the game, and that breeds belief, it builds confidence, and we're able to sustain it for 4 quarters right through the game.
It's a team effort, but you've got to have individuals who lead the way. There was some footage of you hugging, kissing, whatever you do to Jack Viney. He deserved everything you gave him on Friday night. Do you say... What's the relationship between a coach and a key player like Viney, like you and Oliver? What you and Jack in a game like that, what do you say to him, or what do you ask of him before the game?
Oh, you rely on your leaders a lot, and Jack's one of those guys, and you want your leaders to have their strengths that thrive and to execute their role to a really high level, and Jack's built for those type of games. He's built for the contest, he's built for big-time footy, and he's able to execute again on Friday night, and he's an exceptional leader of our footy club because he does it in the moments that matter, and he does it in games that matter, and he plays the right way, and we're really proud of him.
Chris, the aspect of your game that while you were talking, we ran some of the numbers around points conceded since round 10, points conceded from the defensive half, and being the team that's most easily scored against once inside 50. Are those measures on your mind at the moment? Are you delving deep? Are you trying to sharpen the defensive aspects of the game up?
Absolutely, Jared. It's probably been the main focus of training over the last 6 weeks. And there's been games in the last month where we've done really well. I mean, the Dogs game not so long ago, I think we kept them to around 9 goals for the game. They usually score quite highly. We had a good game against the Giants in that regard. But in between times, we've had some other games where we've conceded, too much. So it's a work in progress for us. We have had a fair turnover of players, particularly in our back line since the Melbourne game. I think we've had 14 different players down there play for various reasons. Not that defence is just about the back line, but we haven't had a lot of continuity with our boys. So hopefully we can sort of build that back up over the next few weeks and have the same 7 or 8 players playing there each week.
I know you didn't want to answer this after the match phase, but I want to ask you, why did you go with the big fella as the medi-sub?
Yeah, we've done that a few times this year. Basically, we go into the game with 1 ruckman, and if you lose him, you can be a little bit concerned about that. But Darcy Fort can go forward and release Dan McStay to go down back if we lose a tall back. And I was a little worried about Richmond's tall forwards in Riewoldt, Lynch and Bolter. So they're the sort of things that go through your head. In hindsight, and this is no disrespect to Darcy Fort because he went on and played his role when he had to replace Zach Bailey, but it was the wrong call in hindsight. We needed another running player, and we sort of lost Kadeem Coleman and Jared Berry pretty early in the last quarter as well. So that even compounded it more. But that's just the way it goes from time to time. And sometimes you get it right, sometimes you get it wrong. It's probably safer always to pick a running type player. But that was the decision that we went with, and we've done that a couple of times this year.
How is Zach Bailey?
He spent the night in hospital. He got out this morning. He's recovered well. He's back in Brisbane as we speak. I reckon he'd just be arriving here now. So I think he'll be fine this week. It was just that he was coughing up a bit of blood, and that's not a good sign when that's happening, or you've got to be really careful when you see that. But as it turned out, it wasn't anything of huge significance, which is more than anything pleasing for Zach and his health.
Chris, from the long term, so you've had a team in the top 4 for 3 years. You are fighting tooth and nail for that now. Are you unconditionally committed to coaching the Lions next year?
Yes, Jared, sorry. I am. I've got a contract for next year, and hopefully the team can continue to do well, and that the club is keen to keep me for a while longer. But I love coaching the Lions, and that's what I'll be doing next year unless somebody knows something that I don't know.
So you're not making any private plans to hand the job over to an old colleague?
Well, it's not my job to hand over in the first place, so no is the firm answer to that question.
And in the scope of the job, so this is not the end of the Lions run. It feels to me like, having lived in the top 4, that you are actually developing and opening up the possibilities. Without putting words in your mouth, is in this journey, Next year's not the end point, is it?
No, not as far as I'm concerned. I'd, just take each year as it comes and do the best job that we can. I think the group that we've got here, their best football is definitely ahead of them. I know it sounds like, oh, you've been in the top 4 the last 3 years, and maybe we get there again, and that maybe your time is passing you by. But we've got a young group who are developing and getting a great range of experiences at the moment, and some of them is disappointment, but that's what hardens you and makes you better when the time comes. And Goody's only too familiar with that process. Sometimes you just got to go through it. You just can't go straight through, nice trajectory, straight to the top, win the premiership. It takes time and effort. They're hard to win, very, very hard to win, and often the last few steps are the toughest.
How's your contract going? If we're going to be talking contracts, we might as well throw yours on
just
the...
locked away.
I've just locked away for a couple of years.
For a couple more?
Couple more.
Is it a hard job, coaching? We've got a couple of minutes here to talk about it. Chris Scott said something last year. It's a really difficult job. It's a hard job. I can understand why his brother's not doing it. Is it a difficult job, Goody? And bearing in mind, you've got to coach, you've got to manage the psychology of players, and then you've got media writing stories about you and about the outside life. Is the pylon... Is it tough existence?
I think there's an intensity that comes with our industry, both internally as a coach. There's a lot of stuff that you've got to deal with, but also externally. And there's an intensity about how we have to deal with it. And I think the longer that you're in the game, the more you can start to deal with the stresses, the pressures and the anxieties that sit within our industry, and you understand what the industry's about. And it's a tough caper, but one I love.
But you struggled with it for a while, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. And I did. But as a young coach, you come in and you think you know everything. You think you know how the industry works, but then you soon work out that you're not bulletproof, and you need to make some change. You need to understand what's important in the game and where you need to give your energy to. And I had to go through that journey personally, but I'm very fortunate. I love coaching. I love what I do. It's always what I wanted to do, and I feel fortunate to be in the position I'm in.
So when you're coaching, you're trying to look at improvement at yourself, your own. You go away and study and try and do it. Is that really a major point of your coaching, or is it all about improving the players and the people? Not just the players, the people at the club.
I think the thing about coaching is you've got to role model what you want your department to look like, and we want everyone in our department, whether that's people working within our footy department or players, to improve in what they do, and I'm no different. So my ability to go away and improve myself personally, whether that's how I deal in certain situations, whether that's how I learn, is really important to show our playing group and to show our people that you're never satisfied, you can always get better.
Is it different coaching the defending Premier?
I think there's the ultimate expectation. We know that if we aren't successful this year, it'll be seen as a failure. But internally, there's so many other things that we need to get right and not focus on that. But winning under the ultimate expectation is what you want to be a part of, because they're hard to win. As Chris said, it's hard to win, and it's a tough industry to be involved in. But the challenge that sits within that is real, and we're embracing it, and we're looking forward to it.
So there's a lot to look forward to on Friday night, and there's an additional aspect to it. It's the gym style. It's the reach game.
Do you know them?
As
what are we doing with these? We're putting them on, are we?
Well, be like Jim is the motto, and rather cleverly, the QR code's right there on the badge.
I always have
look, it's a great cause. Jim has left an amazing legacy, not only for our footy club, but for the community. The Reach Foundation is just such an inspirational foundation where it helps troubled youths and helps adolescents find their way through a really difficult part of their life. And it's important for us and important for everyone to keep Jim's legacy going, and it's a great game to be a part of, and we're looking forward to Friday night and everyone donating kindly.
So round for Reach info, text Jim to 0473 000 111, or use that QR code which is on the screen there, and will feature on the badges on the night. We'll keep our conversation going with our coaches next. Chris Fagan from Brisbane, Simon Goodwin from Melbourne with us in the studio. And then tomorrow night, a couple of the high flyers of the competition. They're a bit banged up after the events of the weekend. Jack Riewoldt and Jeremy Howe is going to make his debut on Players' Night.